Is this thing on?
Okay, welcome. This is our fifth mini seminar that we've had, and I do see some familiar faces in the room. I'm sure some of you have seen that video before. We're actually working on an updated version that will include some of our more latest developments. One that I'd like to mention that we're very proud of and very interested in what we expect to be some great results is what amounts to a $50,000 research and development project that we've joined up with Brock University on. That's going to expand on and further develop our ability to apply energy analytics with fault detection. So that's very active in the background too. Hopefully we'll get that into our next video presentation. Again, I'd like to welcome you all today to the presentation. We've got three speakers that I think you'll find are very interested. They're all from different areas of our industry, but they all kind of bring value to the theme of energy savings and energy-based upgrades to buildings. So we've got about 9:10, or we get about 9:10. We'll bring Tom Wood up from Viessmann. He's going to speak about some new technology that they're applying to high-efficiency boilers. Then Ahmed Harani from Distech Controls is going to come up and talk a little bit about a new product that they're bringing over from Europe. That's a localized lighting thermal unit control system. It's going to be a very functional tool or set of products that I think we'll be applying en masse into the industry as we move forward. Then we'll have a break, time to network a little bit. Then after the break, we'll bring in Jim Hickey from Horizon Utilities, who's going to speak a little bit about the new OPA energy incentives that are out there, and they're much better this time around. What I can tell you a little bit about it is now that they have roaming energy managers that can partner with consultants, end users, facility managers, and installers to kind of fast track the whole application process, and Jim's going to speak a little bit about that. At the end we'll have a Q&A. What we'll do is we'll bring up all the speakers up to the front, and then you can kind of ask your questions and sort of get any concerns addressed that you have. If you have an immediate question while there's one of the presenters and it's hot on your mind, interactive sessions make these presentations more valuable to everybody. So if you really want to ask a question or bring up a subject, feel free to participate in the presentation. So without any delay, I'll bring up Tom Wood. I'll just give a quick bio on Tom. Tom is the territory manager for the Niagara Viessmann Manufacturing Company. He's had the position since 2001. His responsibilities include both residential and commercial product, influence the engineering community, managing our wholesale and distribution network, and working with contractors in both the sales and technical advisory capacity. Prior to that, Tom held a sales position with Union Gas for about 14 years. It's funny because when we saw each other in preparing for this presentation, he looked at me, I looked at him, and we said, meter reader, right? And it turned out we were both meter readers back in about 1987. So you can see that we both had good careers from a time of just walking the streets and punching in reeds. Sometimes I miss those days. Tom is going to speak to you about Viessmann's VitaDens 200 high-efficiency multi-boiler packages. So Tom, without ado, welcome you up.
Yeah, anything techy, you could be helping me out here. As Rick said, we worked together at Union Gas for quite a while, and it was funny yesterday when I went up to meet him, because I've been communicating with Tom Wolf back there about the seminar, and I'm thinking, Rick Gorka, where do I know that name from? And we talked for a few minutes, then I said Union Gas, it was like, Union Gas! Anyway, Yeah, I've been with Viessmann for about 14 years now, and I thought before I started, I would just give you a little bit of information about our company. Anybody heard of Viessmann before? Other than I have another fella down there from KWE Electronics who used to build all our controls for Viessmann. So there's a couple of connections here we need to talk about later on. But so you do have does anybody have knowledge on Viessmann? Yeah, not too many. Anyway, Viessmann is a huge company. It's a global company, and it's one of the largest boiler manufacturers in Europe. It's been around for about 100 years. We've been in Canada for almost 35 years. Our main facility is in Waterloo. We've got like a 60,000 square foot facility that distributes all the product from there out to Canada. We also have an office in Burnaby, BC, and one in Warwick, Rhode Island. But it's a family-owned company, and I like that because I was in Allendorf just a little while ago, which is where the mothership is, and the R&D section of our company is absolutely amazing. I've never been in a manufacturing facility like this anywhere. It's incredible. It's so clean in the factory. I'm telling you, I'll say it, I wouldn't want to do it, but I'll say it, you could almost eat off the floor. It's so clean in this place. And it's because it's a factory-owned company, and because they're not paying shareholders profits on this and that and the other thing, there's more money that goes into the research and development. And Viessmann has over 60 patents on heating technology and what we present out to that area of the world. Anyway, I have 30 minutes, so basically what I'm going to talk about today is the Viessmann 200 boiler and what it is, and I want to even get more specific than that. What I want to talk about is multi-Viessmann boiler applications that we're using more and more in commercial applications. Small buildings, apartment buildings, that type of things, a lot of retrofits. But I just want to kind of open it up. There's so many different products that I could talk about, but I just kind of focused on this one today. The Viessmann 200 is a wall-hung boiler, and as we go along, this is third-party certification, by the way, on our boiler. The Environmental Choice logo. Right now, there are 7 capacities of boilers that range up to 105 kilowatt unit. Small, medium, large. All are natural gas or compatible with LP, propane gas. These can all be used in a residential application, but what I want to show you today more is the manifold system, where you can rack these things together, and you can create a heating plant for a larger style area. If anybody has any questions too, please feel free to just shout them out at me. This is kind of an overview of what the racking system looks like, and basically uses the 45 kilowatt up to 105 kilowatt boilers. I'll show you as we go along too. You can get it where you can mount 2 boilers, 3, 4, or you can mount up to 8 boilers as well. This is the 2 boiler manifold setup. And we also have an item called a low loss header. This is probably one of the handiest pieces of equipment that we have here right now for especially in retrofit applications. If you don't know what the flow rates are on the out in the building, you can what you can do is if you put on a low loss header, it's basically a system decoupler that will allow you to put a larger size pump on the system, and you won't exceed your flow rates in the boiler on the boiler side of the low loss header. Basically, an empty chamber that where you would have your pumping over here for your system, and then your boiler pumps in here so that you don't exceed the flow rates in there. That's a 2 boiler manifold. Once again, you can get 3. And the 4 boiler manifold, what we do is we ship it as a 2 and a 2, so that you just basically join the 2 pieces together. Feedback from the field on this is incredible. There is a cost to the racking system, no doubt about it. There is a cost for this. However, and usually, you usually get this more from the contractors than anybody else. There's the cost of the low loss header, and then they go in, and once they use this thing once, the feedback is, it took me 1/10 of the time to install the product than it normally would. Basically, you bring the racks in, you mount them on the floor, you hang the boilers, and everything connects up underneath. It's just like boom, boom, boom. It's a very, very efficient way of installing the multiple boiler systems, rather than one at a time and then piping everything in as you go along.
Tom, could you just run your finger on how the actual flow would be through the system?
Okay. What you would do here, on the system side, you would have your system pump out here. Okay. Your return, the flow goes into the boiler. You're always flowing into the boiler on pitot dents. So it would come in and then it would come out. It pulls out the top and then returns into the bottom. Okay, basically what this is, it's just an empty chamber. And the water just circulates around inside. But what it does, it decouples the flow rates, so because the boilers have a maximum flow rate through the heat exchanger, you can size your pump here so you don't exceed the flow rates through the boiler, but you can put, let's say you need 100 GPM over here. Your boiler flow rate is 22 GPM. You can put your 100 GPM pump over here and your 22 GPM pumps on each individual boiler, and it doesn't interfere with any flow rates you got on the other side. It's very, very helpful, especially in a retrofit situation when you have no clue what the flow rates are on the other side. If you're in a new building and you're engineering a new building, then you just basically size that low loss header in relation to what you've calculated the flow rates are for the building. And that's for the engineers out there. Any engineers out there? 1, 2, all right, good. So you could use that for it's like, if you don't know what the flow rates are, put one on. We sell the kits with the. If somebody comes to me and say, I want a 4 boiler combination, a Lola or combination kit with WB 2B 105s, I can go in and I can give you a price on that with all the components that go with it. This is something I really want to stress with Viessmann. We look at the whole thing. When I go in to look at a job, I don't just go into the boiler room or the mechanical room and say, oh, you need to replace that appliance. That's not what we're about, never have been, never will be. What I do is I go in and I look at the whole picture. I'll go in with the engineer, I'll go in with the mechanical contractor, whoever. And we look at the whole picture so that when I walk out of there, or when we walk out and you decide to put a system in, it's number one, it's going to be the best system for your application. Anyway, I digress. Just to go back, we sell these in package systems. so that you don't have to go, oh, I need to add a pump, oh, I need to add a check valve, oh, I need to add this. Whenever you get a packet, the total package kit with the low loss header, there's a number of items that are included in it.
The low loss header as a decoupler, is that basically a heat exchanger where you're keeping the first two flows, the water separate from the other?
No heat exchanger.
Okay.
And that's a good point, because I get that question all the time. Is it a heat exchanger? No, it's an empty chamber. It's just a completely empty. Yeah.
I think you have a primary secondary system. Right?
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. It's a system decoupler. You're absolutely right.
So Tom, just to expand on that, those are high efficiency boilers, condenser
Yes.
boilers?
Yes, absolutely.
So if you had an old system and you wanted to be sure that you didn't contaminate the boilers with the inability perhaps to properly clean out the existing system, could that be isolated via a heat exchanger?
Well, that's another really good point, because the low loss header, if you look right down at the bottom in the picture here, it's actually one of the advantages of putting it on, because usually when you're doing a retrofit and you drain the water out of a system, then you fill it back up, and then you got maybe a bigger pump on it, and suddenly you're circulating maybe more sludge and business that's in the system. Where's it normally going to collect? Usually in the bottom of the heat exchanger in the boiler. Okay? With the low loss header, there's a drain down the bottom here, and this is a huge advantage with it. What you just mentioned, Rick, is the debris or whatever is in the system will collect down here, and it's easier to drain and to clean. But so that's another advantage. Also, another advantage of it too is the sensor. There's a common supply sensor which goes into it reaches down to about midway down into the low loss header. What that does, it gives you a more accurate temperature reading of what's going on out into the system, rather than using the temperature sensors in the heat exchangers in the boilers. So what the advantage there is, it helps the boiler condense more. You get more condensing ability because your sensor reading is here as opposed to in the boiler right at the source of heat. Oh, wait. Yeah. And if you do the package system, there's a price reduction in it as well. This kind of gives you an idea on front view, top view, if you get into like an 8 boiler manifold. Okay, back to back. Also something I didn't mention, but I'll mention it now. If you do a cascade system like this, the boilers have to be all the same flavor. You can't put a 105 with a 45. You can't put a 45 with a 60. You have to have 4 105s or 4 60s, and I'm talking about the model numbers on the boilers right now. This just kind of, I left this in because it kind of gives you an idea of what comes in the package of for the fittings that you get with the kit. Okay, you get everything you need to connect up to the boilers underneath. Controls. I think our friend knows a little bit about controls because he helped build them. This is the standard Vito Control S unit that comes with the boiler, with a 4 boiler package. We can do up to 4 boilers with this control. Don't need anything custom, don't need anything else. Rick told me, or was it Rick or Tom? I think it was Rick, told me an interesting story about a little project we did for Niagara Parks Commission about 4 years ago at Table Rock. I think folks have been at Table Rock, where Rick had to come in and do something in terms of the building management system and integrating, and I was pretty happy with tying in with our system here. So this comes as a standard part of the kit, any kind of the boiler kits that you would get. Kind of give you an idea there what it can do. You can get, you can get up to 2 zones with mixing valves, domestic hot water, and you can tie in with your lawn devices or whatever you need to pull into your building management system. One of the things that we have to be careful with when we're ordering, because we recognize that Viessmann recognized that maybe you don't want our control. Maybe you want to use a third-party control. And if that happens, then there's a control in each of the individual boilers that has to be matched up to whatever party controller you're using. So it's something that it's a question that I would ask from a excuse me, from a sales perspective in terms of what you need out in the field and how you're going to control it. So it would be something as we go along. That's just kind of I just left that in there, just it kind of gives you an idea of a 4-boiler application, piping layout, which the ideas that you can use with it. I've got some pictures at the end of an actual application we did in Hamilton with 5. Once again, this is what I was saying. If you're gonna use third-party controls and not the Vito Control S, then we make sure that it comes equipped with the proper control in the boiler for you to do what you got to do with whatever controller you're going to be putting on it. Also, you can, when you do that as well, we can sell it to you without the rack or with the rack. This is just showing with the rack, and this is without the rack. This is where the information collection part comes in for me or whoever you're dealing with in terms of putting the pieces together and how you want to design your mechanical room. This is important. If you use a third-party controller, please know now that the pieces don't talk to each other. It's a one-way street. If you use a Vito Control S, there are advantages to that because the main control can talk to each individual boiler on its own. If something happens on it, if you have a Vito Control S unit on there, and you have a 4-boiler bank, and boiler number 2 goes out for some reason on a fault, you still have 3 boilers that can operate. It'll just tune that one out. Also, there's a modulation system that's set up in our boilers from the Vito Control S that won't happen with a third-party controller. And actually, I've got a building almost next door where we put multiple Vito dens in, and he had electric heat pumps in there. We did this about maybe 5 years ago, and his hydro bill was out there. And we went in and we put a 3-boiler manifold setup in, and we tied them into these fan coil units. And he phoned back with a complaint, and his complaint was, why are all 3 of these boilers running? All 3 of these boilers are always running. What's going on? It's driving me crazy. You guys told me that this was going to be more energy efficient, and now all 3 boilers are going on. But what happens is with the Vito Control S and with our boilers, the first boiler will come on dependent on load, and it goes up to a certain level, and then if it exceeds a certain point, the second boiler comes on, and then they both ramp down to low fire, to the lowest possible fire. If they come up and they reach a certain load, and it goes beyond what's in the parameters of what that load will be, the third boiler comes on, and then boom, they ramp down to the lowest possible level. That is where you're getting your energy efficiency. If you put a third-party controller on, what happens is one boiler comes up, goes to maximum level, then the second boiler comes on. and it goes like that. So you're not getting full condensing potential. More boilers on at a lower modulation rate is going to increase your efficiency more than taking one up to high fire and then the next one come on, then that goes up to high fire. So it's better to keep them on even that way. So there's an advantage with the Viessmann controller. The other advantage too with I gotta watch because once I start going, that's it. The other advantage with the Viessmann controller and Viessmann product is it's all plug and play. Okay, here it is. You got a guy who comes in. You got one of your servicemen goes in 5 years later, where somebody has gone in and put other party controls on and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and he stands there and he goes, okay, where do I start? Where do I start here? How does this connect into this? If you've got Viessmann product in there with a Viessmann control, you know exactly where it is. You know exactly what's going on because the manuals are there and everything is plug and play in our stuff. This is the little example. I just want to show you the physical example of a unit we did in Hamilton. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6-story building, not too far from Eastgate Square. They had, what did they have in there? They were atmospherics, and they were chugging along. This is an example of the boiler room with the mounting rack. We've also built a custom panel for this because there's 5 boilers in the setup. So we built a custom panel that ties directly into the building management system as well. This is something that Viessmann does that I'm not sure there's another manufacturer who does this, who builds custom panels. If you've got a job anywhere, all you need to do is give me your wish list of what you, and this is for the engineers, give me a wish list on what you want on that building and how you want it to accomplish it, and I'll tell you I can build anything you want in terms of a custom panel. Anything. This is on the other side. There's 3 on the one side and 2 on the other. I wanted to show the low loss header here. That's how it mounts onto the racking system. Not bad. Wait. I got 60 seconds. I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I'm gonna. So don't say anything, okay? We've got more product coming in. We've got 2 larger Vitodens coming in that are going to be up to 500,000 BTUs. The largest one now is 370. We're adding 2 more in by, not going to say, by the end of 2013. We also have other commercial product that's applicable to a lot of other things. Thank you very much, everybody.
Just a couple of things on the third-party panel and the integration and whatnot. And for many years, and to some degree still, integration is a dirty word. It sort of is something that's easy to spec out, but sometimes very hard to deliver on, in the field. In the past, I would say, looking back, maybe even far as 10 years ago, but even as recently as 3 years ago, and even today with some manufacturers, there's a disconnect between how the manufacturer ships the product and how the information is available to the BAS contractor when he connects his 2 wires. And from our experience, we've seen huge progress in that area of shared knowledge, of standardization, where the points that we need to bring forward to the BAS into the BAS for the end user to be able to have functional access to the third-party equipment has come a long way. So integration isn't the problem that it used to be, but you still have to be very aware of what should be integrated versus what shouldn't be. Some things really do need a hardwire connection in order to operate as critical functionality. I would say, for example, a VFD drive. I think good design on a VFD drive is to absolutely have a backnet interface to that drive to pull read data out of it, kilowatt power consumption, alarms, some of the non-critical data that's very useful in an energy management system. But the actual drive functions of that drive should be hardwired back to the controller that is responsible for the sequence of operation, the programming of that device. And that's sort of a good mental note when you're designing and speccing out integration. Our experience with manufactured products, such as a multi-pack boiler assembly, like Tom was discussing, it would probably be a better design decision to keep the control functionality in the package. So go with Tom's first advice to assemble the thing and sort of package it as a single unit. Get the manufacturer specific controller, because it's got all the proper design elements built into that package. And I think Tom made a good point that 5 years down the road, when someone's got to come back and service that, they'll have a standard set of documentation, and they'll also have reference to single source product support. And our experience, as Tom mentioned, with Viessmann, which does go back, it was more than 4 years ago. We were probably commissioning that job 5 or 6 years ago. At that time, we were struggling with integration because of that disconnect I mentioned earlier. And the Viessmann control package came in just like that. It was a very slick commissioning process. They had the right people on their side, we had the right people on our side, and we had a connection and data exchange to that boiler package, within a half a day, which is, something at that time, took a lot of sweat off my brow, because at that time we were really struggling with integration from perspective of trying to get all the read-write data that we needed out of that unit. It just wasn't there. We'd connect and there'd be nobody on the other. Sort of like on a phone, you call somebody, they pick up the phone and no one's talking, and they just put the phone down and walk away. That was a very common concern of ours when we were doing integration 5-6 years ago. So today's a lot different than then. Most of the major manufacturers that are in the commercial and industrial side of construction have got pretty functional integration packages now. And just another side note, he talked about his control panel. I'll let you in on a little secret. We use the same supplier for our built-up control panels as Tom does, and it's pretty slick. They can pretty much make you anything. They can bring up touchscreen interfaces, graphic packages, and it's a cost-effective way for us to do business as well. So we are also using the same supplier for that.